looking to scale the business to multiple locations. Is what is your role now that you have kind of one established location and then one new location? Are you guys building out your own office as far as like, creating your own command center? Have you ever looked into like a call center or like a call boss or something like that? How are you going about building systems for your office as far as, creating videos like you said? How do you structure pricing for mowing to ensure you are recovering overhead?
If you go watch any of my YouTube channels, in the link, there's a free pricing blueprint for mowing. That is, it took us hours to come up with that blueprint. Okay, awesome. So we have Adam here. Adam, I guess give us a little bit of a snippet of like where you're at in business and how I can help.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here in between Akron and Canton in Ohio, about an hour south of Cleveland. Been going just finishing up our third year here. So I'm 19 years old. The owner of Pristine Green Lawn and Landscape, and so we're gonna hit pretty much right at 300,000 in revenue this year. Kind of a 50-50 mix of mowing and then basic landscape work, flower bed stuff, that sort of thing. Looking to scale the business to multiple locations, kind of similar to what I've seen you're looking to do as far as having a working GM, maybe 600 to 700,000 in annual revenue per location. Have a kind of a regional manager over 4 or 5 locations, but having that working GM model. And so really just trying to you know get to that point to where we're ready to finalize our first location, get things ironed out, and then keep growing from there, keep adding locations. So definitely questions geared towards that, as far as how we can get to that point and make that happen.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds good. I like it.
Awesome.
I love the name too. Pristine landscaping, scaping. That's legit. And how old are you?
I'm 19.
Let's go, dude. Doing 300K in business. That's what I'm talking about. I love the vision. I love it.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man.
So what questions do you have? Like how can I help you maybe get to that next level?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll start right in. I think I have about 10 questions, just kind of focusing on majority of different stuff. We'll see how many we get to, but yeah. First one I'll start out with you is what is your role now that you have kind of one established location and then one new location? How much are you involved at each one? Maybe specifically how much are you involved at the location that's already established? And what does your day-to-day look like as far as a regional manager over both, or a GM of the new location, running command center, your office? What does your role look like currently?
So that's a really good question, and I think it'll vary for a lot of people. But currently, right now, I'm more of like the admin side on the back end. So I'm building out a lot of the automations. I'm building out a lot of the systems and the processes, and really just trying to streamline things. My wife is going to be taking over the GM role in the Aubrey location next year. So she's going to be doing a lot of like managing the operational crews, doing the estimates and the selling, things like that. And then we already have a targeted, a great team member that's going to be our GM for the Salina location, which we're already starting to train him up as well. So as far as like the regional manager goes, like I do a lot of like those higher level things. Like I'm still kind of onboarding on the back end employees, like through QuickBooks, getting their benefits set up, um, adding them to insurance, things like that. Like just some of those moving parts back there and just kind of overseeing, tracking those KPIs, making sure that I'm still helping like run P for P. So I'm still tracking numbers each day. If somebody, gets too many yellow slips, I'm communicating to the GM like, hey, we need to have a conversation with them, and just like really making sure things run more smoothly. So
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. Next question. It's kind of a two-parter. Number one is, are you guys building out your own office as far as like, creating your own command center, esque eventually down the road, as you of course get more locations? Is that the plan?
absolutely. Yeah, that's actually that's I think our biggest hurdle right now is trying to figure out like how to properly structure that. I've reached out to us. Obviously, Mike has Command Center. There's another guy, EJ McCoy. He owns like 5 or 6 different businesses and stuff. So there's definitely like an approach to do it kind of like a franchise model. And then there's like another approach to where you can like specifically like have your office managers assigned to certain basically locations and things. But yeah, that's definitely something that we're learning on the way. I think as of right now, what we're going to do is basically what the one of the other options is to like basically build another like company and just let's just call it like Command Center LLC, right? Um, and then that would be its own company, and then you basically will like rent out the employees to each business and stuff. Or what we're going to do is just basically for at least this year, because we only have 2 locations. When we get to like 5 or 10, this might change, but we're just going to track the time in between 2 locations, and then we're going to basically our office will be on W-2 staff for both locations. And so like typically, obviously, they work 40-hour weeks. Well, they're not going to work all 40 hours in one location. They're going to be answering calls left and right. Copilot allows us to track their time inside of each location. So let's just say they spent 70% of the time at this location and 30% of the time at that location. That's how their paycheck will get split up.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw your I listened to the podcast you did with EJ McCoy, and that was one of the things that you asked him, which was another thing that I was wondering about is how that works. Is essentially like if you did go that first route as far as like making that a separate entity, and kind of like billing out each location, especially when it's like smaller, you only have maybe 1, 2, 3 locations. I think that would be a little bit challenging just to make sure that um, you know you're not trying to make a big profit off of the command center location, but to make sure that like you're paying the command center enough to actually make sure your employees get the paycheck for the office side. And so that was definitely one of the things I was wondering as far as making sure that everything is even, that they're getting billed out appropriately and at the per minute or whatever basis that looks like. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, just like you said, there's not enough like wouldn't be enough like profit per se. But I think when you get to like probably 3 plus, maybe 4 plus locations, that's when it probably makes sense. Because even at like 3 or 4 locations, you could still split up like I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard because you can't like decipher per se like where the calls are coming in from, right? Can't be like, oh, well, that's not my location. I'm not going to answer it. It's like, no, we need to answer the call. So yeah, I think when you get to like 3 plus is when that shift needs to happen, where you need to put like a LLC or a S corporate structure in place to like really, manage it properly.
yeah, I gotcha. Have you ever looked into like a call center or like a call boss or something like that as far as taking on some of that office work? That's another thing I was interested and curious about.
I did briefly in my early days. I think it came out to be like 4,000 plus dollars. I think it was like $4,200 when I was looking into it. And I'm like, the heck with this, man. I'm gonna just hire in-house and like and I think they weren't like fully supporting me like I needed either. Like they could answer the calls and like relay the messages, but like I was always one like for you, Pristine Landscaping, like I want to be the best. I want to be the best customer service locally. I don't just want somebody to take the call and then just send it to me and say, hey, you got to send them an estimate. Like I want to make sure that they're doing that or booking them on the phone and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's call centers out there, but to be honest, I didn't look too deep into it. I looked into probably a couple of them and then I was like, you know what, I'll just do it myself and just did it internally. And it worked out pretty well. We did hire our first ever office staff. It didn't work out really well. I think she stayed for maybe like a couple of weeks. It was so funny. I sat her down and we put it through like endless amount of hours of videos, and it was just not the way to do it. And and then obviously we hired another one, and she's an all-star. Like she's been with us for 2 years, and she literally like helps everything operate properly. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
worked
awesome.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured as well. Just with those call centers, obviously, if they're taking on multiple businesses, there's only so much that they can really do specific for each one, and there's still going to be a large chunk of that you're going to have to do yourself. And what you touched on at the end there goes into my next question. But how are you going about building systems for your office as far as, creating videos, like you said, documents, forms, et cetera, so that, it's easy to get new office staff members trained up specifically as you need to hire more than, one or two?
Yeah, I would say like I used to be one where I was like, we need to annotate every little simple thing or small thing. And like I'm starting to kind of get away from that because as I'm learning, as we grow and scale, things change. So like I don't want to sit down and create all of these videos and create all of these checklists and create all of these things for it to literally next year when we open up a third location, maybe like it's just all going to change anyways. And so I'm more like prone to just taking action. Obviously, if it's a task that we're doing repetitively, I do want to build some kind of structure around it. And sometimes it's as simple as just like, hey, this is how it's going to be. With a team meeting, we'll show them how to do it. That's it. If it's like um, if it's something that's a little bit more advanced, we will probably put like a video together or something that they can reference. Like I'll give you a perfect example. Refunds. We don't do it often, but I don't also want to be the bottleneck every time there's a refund that a customer's like, hey, I want my $40 cutback. So because we don't do it that often, I will actually create a video of it. This is one of those like weird ones where it's like, hey, that thing won't change very often because we're not going to change like uh credit card processing companies every week or every year per se. So I'll create a video like that and then put it like on a Google Drive or something to where they can access it. And when they're like, hey, we need to do a refund, I'll say, hey, just go watch the video. It's step by step, things like that.
I gotcha, absolutely. Yeah, are you having kind of as far as getting your first office staff member, hired? Was it one of those things where you maybe just sat down with her for a couple weeks and kind of walked her through things, maybe focused on a certain task, for a week and then add more, or how did that look as far as hiring the first one?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I would relate this to any task in the business, whether it's in the field, whether it's in the office, or whether you're hiring a new regional manager, right? We always want to start off with baby steps. So, I want to give them a simple task that I know they're going to do a lot of, and we're just going to drill it in so that way they get almost like they can do it in their sleep, right? So, one of the first things that we do when we bring in an office person, and I've learned this through training many people over the years, is we want to keep it very simple. So what we'll do is I will give her a task of how to map, like I'll sit down, I'll show her how to like map out a property, and then I'll say, okay, I need you, here's a list of 25 people. You're gonna map out their property and you're gonna send them a quote. And now she's getting these reps in of like mapping out the property, sending the quote, mapping out, and she does it like 25 times, right? And then she'll just spend like a half day doing that. And then after that, then we'll kind of improve on that, right? Like in the office, the number one thing that they need to know how to do is like answer the phone, map a property, send a quote. And so like that's really what we're kind of trying to train just like repetitively over and over again. Just like in the field, if you have somebody who comes in and learns mowing, like we used to train them on the mower, weed eater, edger, and blower all on day one. I don't do that anymore. On day one, all they're gonna do is weed eat. He's gonna be the best weed eater by the end of the day because he's gonna weed eat 25 properties. He's gonna know how to change the string, he's gonna know how to not butcher the grass, he's gonna know how to round his corners, he's gonna know how to start, he's gonna know what fuel needs to go in it, right? So like we're there's a lot of aspects into it, but basically just breaking it down into simple form is definitely the way to go. And what you can do like literally is like, okay, I'd say the number one thing is the reaction, like those reaction tasks, like when the phone rings. That's the first thing you should try to get off your plate because when I'm running payroll or if I'm doing the profit and loss statements, I don't want to be answering the calls every time it rings, every 15, 10 minutes, right? So like try to get those reactive tasks off your plate first, and that will definitely save you a lot of time.
Gotcha, absolutely. And then in that training, this could be in the field, office, whatever, but do you focus more on, having some videos for them to watch, or just kind of running through everything in person, or maybe it depends on what their, learning style is or what they prefer? Because we've done videos for, pretty much all of our in-field training, like a couple hours of videos, nothing too crazy, but kind of getting them started on that, make sure they have some background before they hop right into it. And we've had some kind of mixed feelings as far as guys who really like it, think it helps, and guys who, would just prefer to fail first and learn by just trying things.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that I haven't gone through like enough office, or I haven't hired enough office people to understand that side of it. What I'll tell you is what worked well in our beginning days is like just sitting down. So like there's four ways that we train somebody is I do it, you watch. So you're going to be sitting right next to me. I'm going to go through it and you're going to watch. The second thing is you're going to do it, then I'm going to watch and coach and train and like, okay, don't do that, do this. And then after that, they're going to do it themselves without me looking over their shoulder. And then I'm going to go back and double check it. And then as long as that's good, then we're good. And then the fourth thing would be like them training somebody else that same process. So really, I guess it's a three-step process. Um, in the field, we found that long form videos is not good. I mean, we're dealing with blue collar people. It puts them to sleep after 2 minutes. So what we did is we shifted over to more short form TikTok shorts versions, trying to get the point across, but still trying to be like entertaining. In the field, it might be a little bit different because I don't know, maybe people like Excel spreadsheets, they like videos. I think having a hybrid is good, but just really trying to figure out when I go through training with people, sometimes I'll be like, hey, how do you learn best? Like, do you want me to just send you all these videos? I'm a video learner. I watch YouTube all day. Not all day, but a lot of my day. Um, but some aren't. Some need to be trained hands-on, So I would say at least like in our company, what I've learned, like 85% of the time they need to learn hands-on, because that's just how they really learn is when they actually do it.
Right, right, absolutely. Awesome. Next question I have for you is, what is the salary and profit sharing structure for a new GM scaling up a location from zero versus, bringing in a GM to run an already established location? Is the profit and salary the same for both? Or what does that look like? Because I think a lot of times it would be easier to kind of step in and run an existing location rather than scaling one up from zero, just depending on what stage it's at.
Yeah. So that's a really good question. I'll tell you what we're gonna do, and I used to think I would agree with you. Like I was like, oh man, like it should be a little easier just to run the location. But I think it's actually harder because there's way more customers, there's way more employees, there's way more yellow slips, there's way more emails coming down. And like there comes a point of time, and I could be completely wrong because we're gonna see here next spring when we really hit the ground running on our new location. Um, but yeah, I'm not I would say if somebody was to come over and operate in our at our main location, here, let me give you the three-tier structure. So, in year one, we'd be looking at roughly probably 21 an hour with profit sharing. The first time they're a GM. In year two, and this is going to change for all markets, right? Your market might be different than our market, but we're down here in Texas. Year two would be $23 an hour. So you get that $2 increase. And then probably about the profit sharing is kind of up for grabs. I could see it being as low as maybe 8 or 10%. I could see it being as high as like 15 or 20%. Um, if they're gonna build it from the ground up, I'd probably give them a little bit more profit sharing because they're putting in the work. And then year three would be probably $25 an hour more and again more profit sharing. Those are probably the three-tier structures. If somebody's like really solid, I would probably give them that pay raise before the year's up, just because they're outperforming and doing well. I would say if I brought a GM to run our main location, which is what we did last year, it didn't work out that well. I mean, it was a $600,000 business. There's a lot of moving parts and there was a lot of things getting lost. And 99, like 100% of that was our fault for lack of training, but it's a lot. And that's why I said like it's a lot to be put on a GM that's never been a GM to do $600,000. So what we're going to do our approach this year is Larissa, my wife, is going to run the main location, and then we are going to have a new GM start that location. And then that way they're gradually like getting their feet wet and stuff and not like getting thrown into a $600,000 operation. Because I mean, think about all the problems and stuff in your $300,000 business. Now just double it. because
Right.
that's
Right.
what we deal with on a daily basis. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a lot, especially
Yeah,
spring
absolutely.
rush, you know, so
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. And yeah, I would agree as far as like it may be just a different type of stress as, Mike talks about, a lot of different people talk about as far as, coming from zero and you're out in the field every day and still have all the rest of the stuff going on as a new GM versus just trying to manage a team and all the customers that go along with it as an established business.
yeah,
Um, do you give paid time off for your GMs and or field staff?
we do. So last year, well, this year, we gave 1 week of paid time off. We just increased that to 2 weeks. So the number one question that I'm constantly asking myself is how do we become the best employer around town? I want there to be a line out the door at Military Lawn Cuts, and I want people to come to us because people is like one of the hardest things to, as you scale, you're going to need people. And so, like, I want to provide the best workplace, the best culture, and the best pay and the best benefits. So we bumped it up to 2 weeks paid time off for all frontline. And then after 12 months, they get 3 weeks paid time off. But the reason we're able to do that is because we flipped the switch to profit mode now. We're not in growth mode anymore. We're trying to stay around 600K and just really increase bottom line so we can take care of our team and have not so much turnover and stuff.
Yep, I gotcha. Is that paid time off? Is that paid out at base pay or like their P for P average
Base
base
pay.
pay?
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha. And then if as far as like a GM taking time off, um, are you guys going to kind of handle that as far as like one of you stepping down and filling their role as the regional manager? Or how's that going to look for giving a GM time off?
So myself acting as a regional manager will step in their absence to run the location while they're gone for a week, 2 weeks, or if they're sick or something. Which, to be honest, if they're sick, they could probably still dispatch from the house and do all that stuff. But if it's more than like 2 or 3 days, then yeah, we would step in.
Got it. Perfect. Next question I have is how do you structure pricing for mowing to ensure you are recovering overhead? And this may not be anything, but specifically like on landscape jobs, you can add material markup, dump fee markup, e-fees, etc. It's not that easy as far as to add that in for mowing. And I get, like we're doing starting next year, like we'll be doing all of our mowing quotes over the phone or online, so we don't have to, actually send somebody out to go look at the properties. But I was just curious if you guys do anything to specifically recover overhead rather than just the profit that you're baking in on the jobs.
Um, yeah, this is a really good question. I think it's kind of a two-part question. So you have your like recurring services of like mowing, weed control, which weed control is still kind of a weird service, but let's take mowing for example, it's strictly labor. What we do is we time ourselves on every single property and we go back and we look at the entire year for we'll do batch sets. So like um, in fact, I have a free pricing sheet that I've given out to people. If you go watch any of my YouTube channels, in the link, there's a free pricing blueprint for mowing. That is, it took us hours to come up with that blueprint. And basically, what we do is we go back and we look at the data over 12 months with multiple crews, multiple trucks, multiple days, multiple seasons, and we just want the average of that specific lot size. So let's say 3,000 to 4,000. So we'll get that average. And then basically what we do is we charge 4 times the amount that we would pay up our team to do it. So our base pay is 18 right now. I guess just call it like 20, like round up to 20. So we charge 80 an hour. And that will typically net you enough profit at the end of the day. That's the easy way to do it. You could sit down and go through every single little expense. Takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. And I've done that before, but typically a good rule of thumb is like 4 times. Okay, so that's the mowing side. On the landscaping side, when you have material, we basically do the same thing, right? We're charging based off labor. So when we go out and we do a quote, like we're doing leaf cleanup quotes right now. We're looking at it and be like, okay, this is going to take a half day. Great. It's 4 hours of labor. So again, 80 times four, what is that? 320. And then which that one doesn't have material costs in it. But if it did, like if we were like installing an edging border, it was going to take us 4 hours. So you would charge them the 80 an hour, so 320 plus What we do on material is we just increase it roughly about 30%. That will cover just the additional management fees of like knowing which one to get and all that stuff. It's 30% is typically what I see in that type of model. There are people that, like, for example, let's just say we're going to install a tree, $250 tree, or like let's say it's like a $200 tree. They'll just either double or triple the price. That's another way you can do it, but it kind of like for us, we bill off of labor. So that's why we want to do the labor model, because I want to make sure I'm making enough money to pay my crews. That's the most important thing. Um, yeah, and it gets a little weird too, because like if you start doing, let's say you're doing sod. This is a really complex answer, so I'm sorry I'm giving you a long answer here.
No, you're good. This is good.
If you were doing like a 15 pallet sod job, I probably wouldn't keep it at 30%. Why? Bulk, right? You're doing a really big job. Maybe you can bring that down to 20% or 15% because you're doing 15 pallets. If it was only one pallet, I'd probably be charging them a 30% increase. So there's that like kind of gray line area, but yeah, that's typically how we do it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, Next question is marketing based. Do you kind of focus all your marketing in the spring rush and try to get, as many mowing customers, fertilizer, weed control customers as possible then, and just kind of last those throughout the year, upsell them when need be? Or, what types of, you know, how does that marketing spend look like throughout the year? Whether you're focusing just on spring rush or spreading that out throughout the year, and then what kind of marketing types are you focusing on as well? Is it all print material or any Facebook, Google ads? How does that kind of look like for your company?
So are you referring to paid marketing or like free marketing or like sweat equity marketing?
Mainly paid and then sweat equity. So yeah, pretty much your print marketing, whether you're doing door hangers, postcards, stuff like that, or
Mhm.
any online stuff, the paid stuff.
So I'll tell you, paid marketing, 99% of all of our paid marketing goes out in the spring rush. 1 week before the grass comes out of dormancy, and then for the next basically 8 to 10 weeks, we're pushing it hard, hard. Um, what we're doing is EDDM flyers, especially in new communities. Uh, we do flyers like door hangers. Those are our two sweet spots. I mean, we've done like Google ads. I didn't get great return on it, Facebook ads, stuff like that. But I would say EDDM flyers and literally door hangers is what built our $630,000 business. We just do the EDDM in the new communities, and we'll probably do it for a year or two, and then after that, we're just doing like, hey guys, I got 5 guys in the spring because I overhired because I know the work's coming. Hey guys, we're all going to hand out flyers on Thursday and Friday. We're going to hit these couple neighborhoods, and then that produces a lot. We've done yard signs. Again, we get kind of mixed results, but yeah, 99% of our marketing goes out in the spring. That's just when you're going to get the best bang for your buck, from what we see. And then I think I answered the second part of like, what do we do? Okay, so as far as like the sweat equity side of it though, we do that basically year round. Um, when our estimator goes out, they do 5 rounds and put door hangers out. Every month we do an upsell email to all of our leads, our customers, and former clients. So literally we have 3,000 customers in the database. They get an email from us every month upselling one service, sometimes twice a month. I guess I would consider that as like maybe sweat equity because it's got me taking time to send it or whatever, but that's all free. Like people forget about that stuff, and I'm gonna do that all year round. Like, we just sent a leaf cleanup email out last week, and we had 16 estimates on the schedule that week. 16 people clicked the link and said they wanted a quote, and that was free. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 'cause this past year we really just kind of a mixed bag of just about everything, just trying a bunch of different stuff, and including like Google ads and Facebook ads and stuff that like I really have no business doing as far as like actually producing good results for it. And so I guess the revised plan going into next year is kind of just focusing on let's say 10 neighborhoods and just trying to hit them really hard in the spring with uh, door hangers, postcards, flyers, whatever it is, and just try to get those out in the spring. And then same thing, just we started doing some instant quote emails and got a good return on those for leaf cleanups and aeration stuff like that. But just try to you know last that customer base and try to upsell them throughout the year just with the free stuff and sweat equity.
Yeah, and I think if you do EDDM at the right time, spring rush a week before, right? And then you do door hangers, so now you're hitting them twice. And then as long as your website is decently like SEO set up, that's what I would focus on. Those three things right there, that'll net you a decent amount of customers in the spring to get what you need, depending on how much money you want to push out. But like the Google ads and Facebook ads and all that stuff, and I'm sure they all work. I just haven't had really great like success with it. So I just do the old school thing. And if you do it at the right time, I'm telling you, that stuff works, you know? So.
Sure, sure, absolutely. Do you guys have any crews that uh, just focus on non-recurring services as far as like landscape jobs or anything like that? Or is it more like get the recurring services done Monday through Thursday? If we have time on Friday, we'll throw in those, non-recurring upsell services, etc.
So that's a good question. The model and my mindset is I want reoccurring. So although we do one-time services like bush and bed services and leaf cleanups and stuff like that, the problem with those services is I have to constantly go out there and resell. You can make good money on that, but I guess to answer your question, I did a video a little while ago about like how to structure the week, and that was like what we used to do. This is what we do now. We basically mow every day, 5 days a week, and then we fit in the landscape jobs on the lighter days, right? So you're always going to have a day that maybe you get off like 2 or 3 hours early. Those are like the days that we kind of fit it in because the schedules are a little bit thinner. Um, we to be honest, I don't think we've really ever had. I mean, we run 6 trucks. I don't think we've ever had a season that we had one truck that all they did was just landscape jobs. All of the crews are trained on how to mow and like trim bushes and stuff. So like, and then for like the quality of life of the employee too, like, because if they, you got to think too, like, and this is what we learned this year. The quality of life of the employee matters too. Like if you have somebody who just constantly mows all day, 5 days a week for 8 months straight, I would get burnt out too. I wouldn't want to do it either. And so like it's kind of nice. Hey, today I'm doing 8 mows and then I got a mulch install to kind of like freshen something up, you know? But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. Sorry.
No, no, it did absolutely. Because yeah, we've kind of as we've gotten started, just as it is, taking on whatever work you can get in more non-recurring landscape jobs than I would like, just because of it's so easy to manage the mowings and the recurring services because you don't have to go out and resell work and retrain guys and take videos on everything. And so it's much easier just to focus on the recurring services. And that's my goal, is to, phase out of that and just try to get as many recurring services as possible. So you don't have to have the headache of trying to consistently sell and get those jobs.
Yeah, and like what's helped with that, and like we only unlocked this year. So if you would have asked me this last year, I'd have been like, yeah, you probably need to have a specialized crew because they're not going to know how to put the edging border in right or install the sod right. But guess what? We got rid of edging border, we got rid of sod installs, we got rid of tree trimming, we got rid of all plant and flower and tree installations gone. All we do is mow, weed control, bush and bed service. That's it. And like mulch, which is an add-on. But that's literally it. We don't do anything else. And like the type of clientele that we're at, a lot of HOA communities, like home residents, we do residential. So like that's what the HOA is getting on them anyway for. Is their bushes getting long? Is their weeds getting long? Like, so that's just what we focus on. And like last year, I ran around with a chicken with my head cut off. This year, I was like, wow, this spring rush isn't that bad. And it's because we made the switch to simple services and all the crews know what's going on and it just makes life way easier.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, cut me off whenever you got to go to. Obviously, I want to be respectful of your time, so whenever you're good. But I'll throw a couple more at you. Um,
Yeah, I've
do
got I've
you?
got probably like 4 or 5 more minutes and then we're good.
Perfect. I'll hit you with one more question then. What kind of yeah, I'll kind of hit you with a two-part. Just what is your why? Like, why are you doing what you're doing, specifically like in the lawn care business, and then obviously you kind of getting into the more YouTube coaching stuff, helping guys out, helping people grow their business. So
That's a great question. It's a really good question. And I've been reflecting on this for a while, right? I think one of the most fulfilling things in life is to help another human being and expect nothing in return. Um, One of my personal missions, and I'm still trying to iron this out as like a personal mission, is to really kind of like develop leaders in the lawn care industry. I'm passionate about lawn care, passionate about landscaping, and just to really get around people that want to win, that want to grow. People like you, 19 years old, talking about owning multiple locations, doing $300,000 in business, like that fires me up to like get around winners like that elevate each other. I'm just really passionate about like helping people. Obviously, we wanted to like our initial, we were gung ho on franchising the business, but it's a lot, like a lot to do. And so, um, the focus has shifted a little bit. We still want to do like 10 locations and maybe down the road we may franchise, but because I want to teach people how to build businesses that run without them so they can get their time back. I mean, that's part of it too. So good
yeah, that's
question.
awesome. Well, yeah, that I appreciate you hopping on the call with me today and obviously helping me out. It's awesome. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much, Adam, for coming on. Literally, you are crushing the game right now. And to be 19 years old and have a $300,000 business, that's insane. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Keep seeking mentorship, guidance, and coaching from people that are where you want to be. And I guarantee you, you will crush your goals. Seriously. So, I appreciate you jumping on the call, and you're crushing it, man.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely, brother. Take care.
Sounds good. I'll see ya.
We'll see ya.